Hello and welcome. My name is Devika Chopra. Joining me on NewsX is Gaurav Taneja, a pilot who's been fighting a very difficult fight for flagging off safety violations by a big commercial airline. Now, there's a huge update on the complaint that you'd made, Gaurav, for which you've also faced suspension. Why don't you tell us exactly what's happened now?
Devika, thank you. First of all, yeah, I was suspended and then finally I was terminated because I was raising safety concerns with the airline, and they were lives of people which we carry, 180, 200 lives every time we take off and land. Yesterday, DGCA has suspended the head of operations and the chief of flight safety at AirAsia India because they found the complaint which was put in by me that was correct, and hence they took this action.
All right. So, in your particular complaint, Gaurav, you spoke of three aspects from what we understand. You said something about 98% flap 3 landings, which is something that was imposed as a rule on all pilots. Then you also mentioned that COVID protocol was violated and fatigued pilots were being forced to fly as well. If you can just, refresh all of our memories and tell us point by point what exactly was happening at this particular airline.
Devika, flap 3 versus flap full, for my viewers, I would like to explain these are the two configurations which the aircraft can land in. Both are approved configurations by the manufacturer and the operator and the regulator. So, manufacturer here is Airbus, the regulator is DGCA, and the operator is the airline which flies the aircraft. But there are certain conditions when you have to choose which one will be a safest course of action. Now, when I talk about safest course of action, if I recall conditions with what were in Calicut, which happened with Air India Express, if you have steep approach with rains, with tailwinds, and so you always prefer going flap full. Main difference between flap 3 and flap full: flap 3 saves fuel. It saves about 8 kilos of fuel per landing, and flap full burns more fuel. Operations wise, when you come in flap 3, you come in with a higher speed. In flap full, you come in with a lower speed. So obviously, when the runway is wet, when the braking action is not good, you want to come in with a lower speed. And when you come with a lower speed, you need less runway to stop. Another major thing which a lot of people don't realize, that when you come in with flap full, when you're coming with lower speed, you get just that extra second for decision making, which is very crucial for pilots. It's very crucial for people who are working in that. If you are a cricketer, you know how much a millisecond is when you have to react to a ball. So it gives you that much extra time to make a decision. The next thing was the COVID protocols. They were circulars by DGCA because this was the first time happening in world history. Nobody had any clue of how to operate the aircraft. If something happens, what to do. If there is some unruly passengers in the aircraft, are cabin crew supposed to go close to him, not go supposed close to him? How do you maintain the safety of the aircraft? So to run the procedures, there were some guidelines issued by the Director General of Civil Aviation, and those were not being followed. I put it down on paper in March, on March 24th. There were two circulars by DGCA. So I had pointed that out to the airline, and airline did not take any action. They did not come back to me asking for any clarification that what has happened. And there were a lot of pilots who had put similar complaints, but I don't know they had put it on paper or not. But there's a company WhatsApp group. They put everything on that group, and I have copies of that. So they were not following the procedures. Which actually, when people travel as passengers, they don't know what's going on. So that's the main thing. So, and the third thing was pilots are fatigued because so when a normal guy works from Monday to Saturday, he gets Sunday off. Now, if you are falling sick on Wednesday, let's suppose you fall sick on Wednesday, which you only came to know about on Tuesday night when you had a stomach ache or something, you decide to call in sick and you decide to skip work on Wednesday. Now, here, if we decide to call sick on Wednesday, it's just an example. So the company would call us to work on Sunday because we reported sick on Wednesday.
Because they would assume somewhere that if you've fallen sick on Wednesday, then Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, Saturday, 4 days of rest time would be enough for you
So
to
yeah,
recover.
so the thing is, if you fall sick on Wednesday, they consider that in your sickness you're resting and you're recovering from fatigue, but actually you're suffering from sickness, you're suffering from fever, you're not recovering from fatigue. So in aviation, the rest is given, the off is given. Let's say if you fly for 6 days, you have accumulated some fatigue. Any work you do, They can be physical fatigue, they can be mental fatigue. So mental fatigue is very high when you fly an aircraft. So to recover from that fatigue, they give you 1 day off. So if you fall sick, they consider that as an off, and then they can make you fly for another 6 days straight. So basically, you can fly for 12 days straight. Let's say you flown for 6 days, seventh day you were sick, and they will consider that as off, and then again they can make you fly for another 6 days. So basically, for 12 days straight, you can fly without any rest.
And this is quite a worrying aspect even for me as a person who's a flyer, because I would not want someone, another tired human being, leading the charge there. At the end of the day, you have so many lives in your hands. So how many people made this sort of a complaint as well, Gaurav? Just, I want to understand this aspect of fatigued pilots a little better.
So, Devika, when you fly in the cockpit, you always have two pilots, and there's always a discussion about how this policy is not good for everyone and how it is not a correct policy. And this was not a DGC approved policy, this was just a company policy. And
Oh,
now
okay.
we have to look now what DGC will do regarding this policy, because DGC clearly says that reporting sick and reporting fatigue is a non-punitive action.
Hmm.
Now, if I report sick and the company is removing my off, which was rostered on some day, that is some kind of a punitive action which has been taken against.
Hmm.
So DDC clearly says that you cannot do that. Now, Devika, also, for example, we as pilots, we get our rosters. Let's say it is August, so I get my August roster in on last week of July, and I don't get Saturdays and Sundays off unlike most of the people. And this is the problem with every pilot, that the social life goes for a toss. And you have to understand that you need to maintain a balanced social life so that you just need to maintain it. And let's say, for example, I have 14th of August as my off day, which was published on my roster on 25th of July, well in advance. So I give notice to my parents, and okay, there's a wedding in my family. Okay, on 14th, I'm available. Now, on 12th of August, for some reason, I fall sick. And these guys, they will take off my off on 14th of August. And I cannot fulfill my commitments. It's a very important personal commitment, a social commitment. Now, a mentality of a pilot will be, even if I'm feeling sick on 12th, I will not report sick. I'll try to go to work so that they
Hmm.
do not take off my off on 14th. So that kind of loopholes I'm trying to point out, and they will not they will not cause an accident per se very next day, but they will, once everything will accumulate. You know what I'm talking about? Once everything will accumulate, a fatigue pilot goes in, and there is rain, and there is steep glide slope, and the guy flying with you is very new, very low experience. Everything comes on you, and then things happen like that.
Absolutely, and these are very, like I said, very worrying signs. And I'm glad that you raised your voice. But at the same time, Gaurav, it must have been very difficult to fight such a fight against a big commercial airline. How difficult was it for you?
It was very difficult. We received so many calls from so many people that please take down your case, please take down your complaint. And but we knew that if you're right, and I had the blessing was I had people's support, and it is sad to see that when I made so many complaints on the right channels, through the right channels, nothing happened. But also when people came in together, something happened. So it says a lot about what this is. I think this is real democracy. This is real democracy. When people stand together, no big power can fail you.
Absolutely. And at the same time, Gaurav, a lot of people also want to know, they've been commenting and asking ever since we've, put this out that you'll be speaking to us. They want to know if the DGCA can somewhere step in, maybe, reinstate you. What would be the process for you now?
The process for me, DDC has still not made any official statement to me or anything, but I think there will be some articles published today by some journalists. But we will take it. So I'm fighting two fights. One is the safety fight, which is going on with DGC, and hopefully we'll move to the court also. And the other fight is my illegal termination fight, which is with the company, which will go on the labor court. I was obviously fired because I raised safety concerns, and they terminated me because of that. So now on the labor court side, I'll try to put in my case that the termination was not legal,
Mhm.
and we'll see what goes on there. I think we still have to discuss a lot of stuff with my lawyer on that front.
Okay, and at the same time, Gaurav, now raised this larger safety concern. So while suspension of these Air Asia officials is clearly a first step in the right direction, what next then? How will you see this fight, till the end? You will see this through. How do you plan that?
See, Devika, my fight is not. against Air Asia per se as company, because company is not run by company is run by people. The
Hmm.
bad choices that company makes are the bad choices which the top bosses make. So you have to make. We had this conversation last time. You have to make people accountable who sign the documents, who sign these illegal policies, who sign these uh, who choose profit making policies over safety. I think, and those are like one or two people who try to do it. And why should everyone suffer because of them? They should not.
Absolutely.
And one important point which I would like to make, since everybody's so concerned about flight safety in India, we are stuck at one level in flight safety. We are not thinking about this level. If you go to US or Europe, they are over here. And what do I mean by this? I'll give you an example. I give my viewers an example and I'll explain. Bangalore crash happened. Everything was blamed on pilot error. I'm sure this crash which happened in Calicut, the official channel, the DG, has made a statement that pilot was coming in fast, he was coming in high, and the approach was unstabilized. Maybe that's why he could not stop, which may be true. I'm not saying it can be false, which may be true, but our thinking will stop there, that it was a pilot error. Maybe coupled with some other thing, maybe we could have made resign. But main thing will the buck will stop. It was a pilot error. But Devika, nobody in India will think why an experienced pilot who has more than 11, 12,000 hours of experience, he was an ace pilot in the Air Force, he was a trainer in the Air Force, he has got rewards.
Hmm.
If such experienced pilots, even in Mangalore crash, the pilot was an expat, he was very experienced pilot. If such experienced pilots are making that decision to continue when you're fast and high, what is the reason? An example, there was an air crash which happened in US, American Airlines aircraft, a turboprop aircraft. The engineer he put a wrong screw or a nut on the tail of the aircraft. After takeoff, the aircraft just went down on the left. It crashed away because the pilot did not have control. It was a mismatch. The nut was a mismatch for the aircraft part.
Hmm.
Now, how will you approach this accident? Oh, it was an engineer error. He had put wrong nut on that part. Let's fire this engineer. Case closed. This is our thinking right now in India. But what NTSB found out? Yes, it was an engineer error. He put a wrong part. But why did such an experienced engineer? Was his intention was to bring the aircraft down? No, his intention was not. Then why did this mistake happen? Because the way they were storing their parts was not organized. Now human factors come into picture. Now if I'm working for 12 hours a day and I get an extension for 14 hours because I have less staff, so I'm overworked. Now, when I'm overworked, I'm doing this job for 12 years, Devika. Obviously, there will be muscle memory. Oh, I know this nut is kept in this box. I'll pick it up from here. That's what happened. He went complacent because he was fatigued. He put up a wrong nut. Then the airline changed the entire engineering setup and how you will place and store nuts so that there is no chance of mistake. So that is how aircraft investigation should be done, not to pinpoint people, but to prevent future accidents. And to prevent future accidents, you can only do it once you have this approach, once you understand human factors that come into picture. If an experienced pilot is making a mistake,
Hmm.
there has to be a reason, and we have to find that reason.
So then, Gaurav, how important does your case, your first victory, become? In uh, given that we've just faced something so horrible at Calicut Airport as well. How important is your story in this context?
It is important, obviously, and it just goes on to show that the accidents are happening for a reason, and there has to be there's someone who has to stand up and call out these malpractices in aviation, and there is a room for making our skies a lot safe.
And a lot of pilots are actually left complaining on Twitter, on Facebook, on Instagram, where they just, would write something on their personal accounts, but not really go into details. How important is your case in terms of giving such pilots a voice and maybe the confidence of, calling out malpractices?
Devika, I can tell you every pilot in the country is with me. I have got so many messages when I put out my initial video that the three complaints which you have raised, those are exactly our complaints. I don't know how you read our mind. When I go to report sick, I honestly feel that pressure of not reporting sick, or maybe I just reevaluate myself. Is it so important to report sick on that day? So these are the feelings pilots goes through when they're not fit and they still go to an aircraft. So the idea of the company is you just fill the cockpit. You
Hmm.
don't see if the pilot is fit to fly. You just need to put two heads over there and just take off.
That's, like I said, that's very worrying. But at the same time, Gaurav, I just want to also understand from you, if the DGC at the end of the day gives the pilot in command the full and final authority to take any and every call once you're up there in the air, how is it that commercial airlines are then creating, these sort of strange, bizarre rules on their own?
Devika, it's very difficult to explain, but somehow I can explain it to you by example. So if now let's say I take some decision, nobody can question me on paper. Nobody can question your paper. But still, if pilots are hesitant to take that decision, they like, "Yeah, should I do it? Should I not do it?" Maybe the company will try to pinpoint me, or the management will try to keep extra eyeballs on me, or they will try to take some extra measures on me. Maybe they will not say anything on this matter, but they will try to create an extra pressure on me on some other case or some other matter. So this small thing just goes on. If I take a decision on something which is I'm legally correct, but with that management doesn't like, they will not touch me on that case. They will not touch me on that case because they know they will touch me on some other case, maybe some small HR issue or something else, or they will write me extra emails of this and that. So you know how corporate world works.
Yeah, exactly. And it's this it is perhaps a corporate attitude that's seeping into a profession where you basically just needs you need humans who are not fatigued and who are in the best state of mind possible, because at the end of the day you're taking care of about 200 people with you on a particular flight. So Gaurav, at the same time, then just looking at some solutions, and getting your perspective on that, I want to understand from you, what is it that we can do better to maybe create some sort of a grievance redressal mechanism which actually works? Do you maybe
Yes,
think anonymous portals would help pilots
yes,
to
there
come
is
out
a
with
need for
feedback?
that. Pilots are scared to put in their complaints, and even if they put in their complaints, the complaints are just sitting on the desk of the bureaucrats for last 1 year. I mean, I have had so many pilots who have emailed me on this duration that this is the email which they have put to company, no action. This is the email which put to DDCA, still no action. But they're also scared to go public because they say we have to work, and we don't want to stand against the company, but we are ready to put an anonymous complaints. And once DDCI, for some reason, they don't take action on anonymous complaint. But the rule says if it's an anonymous complaint, let's say if it's a HR complaint anonymous, it's okay, you don't take decision. But if it's a safety complaint and it's a specific complaint which you can identify and verify,
Hmm.
DDC has to take action, but somehow they fail to take action every single time.
And that's, like I said, that's completely bizarre, because I mean, a person like you still had a huge following, on YouTube and Instagram, and you had a voice. So you could take that risk of going out, going public and just deciding, listen, I'm going to fight this fight because I have these people with me and I have a voice. I'm going to use my platform for a cause. But a lot of pilots, as you mentioned, they probably don't, and they have to continue working for that particular airline. So even if the airline doesn't take punitive action against them, serious one, it could just become, some sort of roster harassment, in a way that you then start troubling the pilot that way, that you complain
Yeah,
against
yeah,
us.
definitely. This happens. Like, so there are some good flights and there are some bad flights. So the game starts like that. There are some good flights which depart at 9 in the morning. You come back by 2. So good time to have breakfast at home. Good time to have tea at home. But then suddenly you see, oh, I'm getting all 4 o'clock morning departures and I'm flying for like 12 hours straight every day. What's going wrong with me?
That, like I said, I mean, then it just becomes a very petty game
Yes.
between a couple of human beings, because as you pointed out initially itself, it's a game of all human beings involved. But
And they,
before we,
at the end
yeah,
of the day, sorry, but no individual is so strong he can take that. I mean, you have to get united. Unless people get united and stand against it, it is not going to work. Another thing, very important thing I want to bring it up, that DGCA need to have some kind of grievance redressal system where if you complain, you get a complaint number,
hmm.
and then you can go back and ask, "This is my complaint number. What happened to it?" Right now, it is haywire. You don't know what's going on.
Is there some sort of union perhaps of current pilots and former pilots, not a union uh, in the strictest sense of the term, but some sort of a committee of pilots where perhaps you can raise such sort, is there something like that, is what I want to
Yes,
understand.
there was a community of an airline which is no more with Jet Airways, and I believe the national carrier has an also a union, but not none of the private.
Okay, nothing collectively, or maybe some sort of a portal where you can go and just make your complaints when it's
No, no,
safety matters.
no, nothing.
And that's what I'm saying. I mean, that's so strange that one would not even want to take the pilot's opinion if something is going wrong. But then at the same time, Gaurav, I also want to understand from you, how does one strike a balance between, this increasing rapid commercialization and maintaining safety standards? Because at the end of the day, saving those 8 kgs of fuel is all about just, maintaining that profit level, right?
So, Devika, that's the role of the regulator where it comes in. Like everybody wants to grow, every company wants to grow, and that is good because once the aviation grows, our country grows. But just now, Devika, our weather systems at the airport are such outdated. If you ask any Met officer,
Hmm.
I'm not talking about Delhi, Mumbai. I'm talking about Bhubaneswar, the Varanasis, the smaller airports like Patna. There, the Met reporting is like 4 hours old. You get weather, which is, and we guess that okay, Delhi has this weather, Kolkata has this weather, and in the middle, weather should be something like that. So we don't have updated systems. We still don't have updated radars. And when I started, situation is improving. It's improving, but not at the rate with which the aviation is growing in our country. So the number of aircraft which we're having in the country is going up like this, and the
Hmm.
infrastructure is just lagging behind. It's not able to catch up.
Okay, so and lastly, Gaurav, before I let you go, you've already shed some light on it, but I want to understand from you then, are these the things that you feel need to be done immediately, issues that need to be addressed immediately, perhaps in the next 6 months? If you could just list down what changes would you like to see in the aviation sector?
Uh, Devika, changes wise, if you ask me, the growth has to be a little regulated in the sense that you need to hire more manpower. See,
Okay.
once the company grows, you also need to hire more manpower, more experts. But I think if you try to save your further cost on that and still want to grow, that's a disaster in the cooking.
All right, absolutely. And thank you so much, Gaurav, for joining us on NewsX to take us through this very big development that has taken place, with these complaints that you filed months back. You've been fighting this fight for a very long time now, and finally you're seeing that it's going in the right direction. And hopefully your case will become an example for other airlines as well who could possibly be harassing pilots in the same manner. Thank you so much, Gaurav.
Thank you so much.
For more such videos, subscribe to the NewsX YouTube channel, hit the bell icon.